Man, the last time I saw a great movie with Ryan Gosling bombed this hard was Blade Runner 2049. Seriously though, god damn you guys! Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Post Credits with Gil Garcia, where we go beyond the final scene of the biggest and best box office bombs, both figuratively and literally. And on today's episode, we are reviewing the summer tentpole film The Fall Guy, a modern-day remake of the 1980s television series of the same name, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. We'll discuss the film's merits to the stunt coordination community, the action, the romance, and the reasons why the film performed extremely poorly at the box office this weekend. The episode will be sprinkled with spoilers throughout the show, but I'll keep things relatively vague just in case you're planning to see it. Before we jump right into the show, I want to take a somber moment to recognize the late, great Bernard Hill, who passed away on Sunday. Bernard Hill was notably known for his roles in Titanic and, of course, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. In The Lord of the Rings, Hill portrayed King Theoden of Rohan. He was arguably my favorite character in the films and had an incredible story arc. He started as a reluctant king, then became the savior of humanity. He portrayed the character with such vulnerability and strength, and as one of the best characters in my favorite film franchise, he left a significant impact on my life and the lives of fans all over the world. May you go to your fathers, and even in their mighty company you shall not now be ashamed. Rest in peace, Bernard Hill. Let's now focus back on the action of The Fall Guy. This next segment is Act 1, My Expectations. In Universal Pictures' The Fall Guy, a down-and-out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film. The Fall Guy is directed by David Leitch, known for Atomic Blonde and Bullet Train, and is written by Drew Pearce, who's known for Iron Man 3 and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. The film stars Ryan Gosling as Colt Seavers, Emily Blunt as Jodie Moreno, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Tom Ryder, Hannah Waddingham as Gail Meyer, and Winston Duke as Dan Tucker. Let's get this out of the way. Raise your hand if you didn't know that this movie was a remake of a TV show. I sure as hell didn't. I'm pretty sure everyone in the 80s knew about this TV show. It ran for 7 years after all. I simply just enjoyed the marketing of this movie, being Ryan Gosling, who is one of my favorite actors working in Hollywood today, being paired up with my favorite actress working in Hollywood today, and that is Emily Blunt. Gosling's career turn since Drive has been fascinating to watch. He's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards, starred in some of the biggest films, Barbie, La La Land, Crazy Stupid Love, and he has worked with some of the best directors in the industry. Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner 2049, Shane Black in The Nice Guys, and of course Greta Gerwig for Barbie. He has since shed the heartthrob label and has blossomed into one of the most talented actors yet to win an Oscar. A triple threat of good looks, great comedic acting, and a surprisingly fantastic singing voice. He's also making the right moves in his career, ensuring that he doesn't ever crawl back into the hole that he came out of with Disney, by pairing with said directors into some of the best critically acclaimed work in the industry. As for Emily Blunt, her last few years have been all phenomenal as well, coming off her first Academy Award nomination for her role in Oppenheimer. Blunt has starred in films with her husband, John Krasinski, A Quiet Place Part 1 and Part 2. She's also worked with Denis Villeneuve herself in Sicario, and she's also landed a couple major Disney films in Mary Poppins Returns and The Jungle Cruise. Blunt has quietly gone underappreciated throughout most of her career, although there is a part of me that's very curious what would have been for her career had she earned the role of Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow, in Iron Man 2. She was up for the running and ultimately lost to Scarlett Johansson. Now, when these two stars came together to make this movie, I was prepared for what was to come because of how much I enjoy each of their bodies of work. They each have action film pedigrees with a solid number of comedic backgrounds and styling. I also think that the subject matter of The Fall Guy fits perfectly into their wheelhouse. If you've followed the show since its inception in July of last year, you know how much I talk about and praise the use of practical effects in filmmaking. The Fall Guy is quite literally a big action representation of all the reasons why I love practical filmmaking, an ode to the people that put their lives on the line to make movie magic a real possibility. The vision of the filmmakers to ensure that the picture comes off as realistic and as immersive as possible. Stunt choreographers, performers, set producers, and camera operators are the real heroes of the movie industry, and The Fall Guy seemingly was set to be the film to shed light on their accomplishments over the years and how vital they are to the movie making business. This movie is a love letter to the filmmaking community. And with that being said, how good was the film going to be, though? It is, after all, directed by a person who was formerly a stunt choreographer themselves, David Leitch. David Leitch has jumped from stunt choreographer to director over the past couple years, and The Fall Guy is seemingly his masterpiece. Is it a masterpiece, though? I think now's a good time to get into Act 2, my review of The Fall Guy. I'm going to answer the question that I just posed right away. The Fall Guy isn't a cinematic masterpiece, but it is a very damn good time at the cinema. The movie oozes charisma and charm through its lead actors while presenting some of the best real-life stunt work that I've seen in Hollywood since the mid-2010s. Gosling, as Colt, portrays a stuntman who's been sidelined from the job following a tragic workplace accident that nearly ended his career. During his time as a stuntman, Colt falls in love with Jodie, played by Emily Blunt. Jodie is a low-on-the-totem-pole production assistant and camera operator who gets courted when the two share a job together. As I mentioned before, the two actors' chemistry oozes off the screen. Their witty one-liners and banter makes for some charming back and forth as we get to know what motivates and drives these two characters. Jodie wants to get her big break sitting in the director's chair, while Colt simply wants to be with Jodie. Colt is the stuntman of a big-time blockbuster actor named Tom Ryder, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. He has always played second fiddle to Ryder and is constantly getting belittled and berated by the Hollywood egomaniac. Aaron Taylor Johnson makes for a really good antagonist to Colt, pushing him to his limit while also ensuring that he gets his own spotlight. Johnson can showcase the wacky space cowboy persona 1 minute and then the next get back to being a slimy big-time sleazebag. Whispering in the ears of Tom Ryder is the studio magnate and executive producer Gail Meyer, played by Hannah Waddingham. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I love Ted Lasso. I also love Game of Thrones. And I've enjoyed seeing Hannah Waddingham on screen in those shows a lot. I do think that she is massively overrated, and honestly, undeserving of the massive amount of hype she receives. Hell, she even received her own holiday special last year, and in that holiday special, she sang one song a total of 4 times during it. I'm sorry, guys. I am not for this Hannah Waddingham, America, Britain's sweetheart arc that she's going through. I don't think she's that talented. She's great, but I don't think she deserves to get plastered everywhere on my screen. I'm starting to get sick of her. Oh, now, rant aside, I think Hannah's portrayal here solidifies my criticisms of her as an actress. Her big, goofy glasses, obvious brunette wig, and massive teeth are completely off-putting right from the second you see her on screen. I don't mean to hark on her visuals, though. It's part of her character, and her character comes off as incredibly annoying despite her efforts to try and make her charming. Her appearance almost immediately gives away the plot twist. And don't get me wrong, she's a gorgeous, big woman, but I think her presence in films and shows is starting to become a bit distracting. I see her for the celebrity that she is, not for the talent that she has. I absolutely do not believe that she was the right choice for this role in this movie, and it is one of the biggest issues that I had with it. Her excruciating screams at the end of the film become so obnoxious, man. It made me want to rip out my ears. I know it sounds like I'm completely shitting on Hannah. I do think she is absolutely wonderful in Ted Lasso, though. However, I'm just over this love affair that the world has with her right now. Looking back at the film narratively, I think it's pretty by the numbers too. There isn't too much to think about or to write home about. Colt, who's lovesick after his relationship with Jodie ended, gets roped into working on her directorial debut film. Now, in order to save the film, Colt is tasked with finding Tom Ryder before he gets wrapped up in a murder conspiracy. Colt becomes the prime suspect and then must clear his name. The Fall Guy, being an easy film to follow, is a huge reason why I think this is an easy recommendation for wide audiences. It doesn't really take any risks or puts the characters in real peril. Instead, the scenes of danger and action are dismissed fairly easily with brevity and comedy. And being a remake of the original television series, I understand why the movie is PG-13 and not very violent. It has to appeal to audiences of the original series while also attempting to capitalize on the summer blockbuster opening weekend. I think I may have enjoyed this movie a bit more if there was a little bit of an edge to it. Not having any gore or curse words doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie, but it makes it feel extremely safe and cozy. I will say, though, that the PG-13 stunts and choreography are pretty damn awesome here. And this is what you really pay for when you go to watch this movie. The way that the stunts and the choreography are filmed. The way this movie breaks the fourth wall and gives us a peek behind the veil of the movie making process is what makes this film more unique than some of the other cookie cutter action films that we've seen recently. For example, in the second act, we see Colt get back into the saddle as a stuntman for Jodie, driving a stunt car through the beaches of Australia while there are charges rigged to flip and roll the vehicle. David Leitch directs the scene so goddamn well because it is shot like it is a behind-the-scenes featurette. We are saddled up next to Jodie as she is on the camera rig. We are in the passenger seat of the vehicle that Cole's in. We hear the comm chatter from the stunt coordinator, Dan, as he's relaying information to Colt and the explosive operators. We hear Jodie calling to the crew to speed up, to slow down, hit their marks and cues. There are a couple inserted shots of what the picture is supposed to look like from the fake movie they're making, Metal Storm, but I found the raw footage of them making the movie to be what makes these scenes so compelling and interesting. A lot of times when we watch a movie, we don't appreciate just how much danger these stunt people go through, even the directors and the camera operators. We see films like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and think that sitting your actors in front of a green screen should be the standard. It's cheaper for studios, don't get me wrong, but the films just end up looking like shit. The quality goes out the window. Comparing this movie to something like Rebel Moon, for example, it's a night and day difference. Each have their own style and approach to action filmmaking. One is completely in camera and practical, while the other is special effects driven and artistic. I think Rebel Moon, for being a god-awful movie for so many fucking reasons, I have to give Zack Snyder credit for creating a film that is so CGI dependent, but he found a way to make it look kind of spectacular. The Fall Guy style is definitely more cookie cutter and colorful, but when the action rolls, you can definitely feel the spirit and the passion behind the project. That is the reason why I favor practical filmmaking over CGI, because you can feel the passion behind it. Unlike Zack Snyder's films where it's all style and no substance. Another really neat sequence in this movie, and I don't consider it a spoiler because it happens right at the beginning of the film, was a scene where Colt undergoes his on-set accident. When the movie ultimately ends, we see behind the scenes shots of how they actually performed the stunts in this movie. And I was shocked to discover that Ryan Gosling actually performed a 25-story drop for that opening sequence. It's insane. And to think he went through all that just for a quick little 2-minute shot. It's mind-blowing. And that's the reason why Ryan Gosling is the GOAT. The apartment shootout scene is very fun. The boat chase scene is extremely fun. And the final act is the perfect showcase to what this film is all about. David Leitch's passion for filmmaking is the highlight of this movie. From the opening narration where he includes cuts of Jackie Chan, the Fall Guy television series, stunt people often getting injured in car accidents, falls, and other stunts, it's the perfect way to get people to appreciate what they're in for in this film. The Fall Guy may not be the strongest movie when it comes to the narrative, but there are plenty of laughs to be had, and as I mentioned, the back and forth banter between Gosling and Blunt is fun and quippy. The Fall Guy may not be the strongest movie when it comes to narratives, but there are plenty of laughs to be had. And as I mentioned, the back and forth banter between Gosling and Blunt is quippy and fun. The two of them have immediate chemistry, and it doesn't hurt that they are both extremely attractive. I also found a lot of good chemistry between Winston Duke and Ryan Gosling, very entertaining as well. Winston Duke, who a lot of you know as M'Baku from Black Panther, plays Dan, the stunt choreographer and best friend in the picture. He has the cliche go after the girl angle when it comes to Colt's journey. It's been seen in so many movies before, but I actually love Winston Duke's on-screen presence so much that I don't mind him being a cliche best friend character. Because he actually gets down and dirty in a few sequences. The fight scenes with him, Gosling, and Aaron Taylor Johnson are some of the best in the film, and they don't get recognized enough. I highly recommend The Fall Guy because it is big, dumb fun. Not stupid fun, dumb fun. There's a big difference between those two. Dumb means that it's not very engaging, but it's a lot of fun to watch, whereas stupid means, oh, this is the kind of movie you shut your fucking brain off like Fast and the Furious. The Fall Guy is dumb fun. It's not stupid. This movie has a lot of energy with its great action, fun romance, and solid choice of music. I can definitely recommend that you go see The Fall Guy in IMAX while you can. Is it a must-see? I wouldn't say so. It won't wow you like Oppenheimer, Dune, Barbie, or other big blockbusters, but there is plenty for everyone to enjoy here. I give The Fall Guy 3.5 out of 5. It's a safe and fun film, not necessarily the best movie I've ever seen, but also not offensive at all. It's the perfect movie to throw on when you have the family over. Everyone will enjoy it. It's now time to get to our final segment of the episode, Act 3, Beyond the Final Scene. If this is your first episode, Act 3 is where I go over some critical and audience reception, then wrap things up with filmmaking factoids and behind-the-scenes nuggets. The Fall Guy earned a lot of praise through early word of mouth, however, it did not hold true after theatrical release. Critics have ultimately settled at 82% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Critic consensus says, with action, comedy, romance, and a pair of marvelously matched stars, The Fall Guy might be the rare mainstream movie with something to entertain everyone. Audiences have responded exactly as I expected, with 87% approval rating. This is the kind of movie that is a total, complete crowd pleaser. But, and this is a big but, not a lot of people went out to support this film in the theaters. The Fall Guy is another casualty of modern movie trends in that it will be the number one movie at the box office, but remain a bomb. The Fall Guy only made a projected $28 million this opening weekend on an estimated $130 million budget. This film may not be a critical disaster, but anything under $100 million is a big miss for this film. It could result in Universal's worst returns versus budget since Fast 10 last year. Ouch. Could this be a result of the way people are now fixated on streaming movies from home? Could it be the extreme costs of going to the movies and paying for concessions? Do people only want to go to the movies for superheroes? Or could it be that the marketing and star power was just not enough to satisfy what Universal was expecting? I think it's a bit of all four. Sadly, I think this is a case of you don't need to run to see it in the theaters, but if you do, you'll be extremely happy that you did, and most people felt the same way. The Fall Guy will likely not receive its whole budget back until it reaches home video. Until then, I don't think we're going to get a sequel. Now, let's go over some filmmaking factoids to round out this episode. With 8.5 rolls in the car stunt scene, this movie breaks the Guinness World Record for most car rolls put to film. That's incredible. And it's also a testament to how really cool these action scenes are in this film. This next one's pretty sweet. Ryan Gosling had a chance encounter with Steven Spielberg, who told him that he loved this movie. Gosling said, "As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter anymore what happens. Steven Spielberg liked it, and that was an all-time moment for me. I'm really excited for people to see it. I think it's a really special movie." It's just a shame that not enough people went to go watch this movie. That sucks. But like he says, he's glad that Spielberg liked it. That's all that matters to him. And now my final filmmaking factoid. Spoiler alert if you're planning to watch the film. There are cameos from the original cast members and a very unexpected cameo at the end. In this movie, you see Jason Momoa, who has one of the best bits in the film. I love the way they use Jason Momoa here. Lee Majors, who was the original Colt Seavers from the 1981 series, also makes an appearance. And Heather Thomas, the original Jodie Banks from the same series, also comes out. Now, before I let you go, I want to go over 10 major differences between the 1981 series and the Fall Guy film, courtesy of our friends over at Screen Rant. At number 10, the original Colt was a bounty hunter, which threw him into dangerous situations, as opposed to this version where he's only endangered because he's getting set up. At number 9, Jodie's profession was changed from a stunt woman to a film director, and the two had a business relationship in the original series rather than a romantic relationship in this one. At number 8, the film cuts most of the original supporting cast characters, including Howie Munson, Big Jack, Terry, and Pearl. At number 7, counter to that, the film introduces new characters like Dan Tucker, played by Winston Duke, and Alma Milan, played by Stephanie Sue from Everything Everywhere All at Once. At number 6, the television series was much more of a Villain of the Week special, with each episode having a different villain each time around. In the film, there are two very clear antagonists to the overarching story. At number 5, Colt keeps a GMC Sierra in the modern film. However, it's an updated version of the classic pickup truck from the series. At number 4, due to the film having to cover a lot of ground and only having 2 hours to do it, Colt was given an emotional backstory with an incredible sequence using Taylor Swift. However, in the television series, the same Villain of the Week story format meant that Colt couldn't have an arc throughout the entire runtime of the show. He was much more emotional in the film adaptation. At number 3, much like the adaptation itself, the fake production that the movie is based off of is based on a big blockbuster film. In the television series, the show was based off of a fake television series. This meant that in the TV show, Colt from 1981 would be able to have different sets and attire for each episode. At number 2, the film actually features the original theme song. However, there is a bit of a twist to it in the modern day version. In the film, Blake Shelton changes the lyrics to mirror the current day. At number 1, the Fall Guy film ends on a definitive note, giving Colt and Jodie a happy ending. She becomes a big-time Hollywood director, and he becomes the founder of a stunt work company. The television series ended with the friends going off on more adventures as bounty hunters. However, the film kind of leaves things open-ended, but given the way the film performed at the box office, I think this may be the only time we'll see these characters on the big screen, and the ending feels much more prominent and final. And there we have it, folks. We have finished the review of The Fall Guy. What did you think of the movie? Do you plan on seeing it on the big screen, or are you waiting for a home release? Let me know on social media. You can find me on Instagram and X. Just look for PCwithGIL. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the show, on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And as I mentioned on my review last week of Fallout, if you are a gamer, a film connoisseur, or a sports fan, join me over on Discord. The link to the server will be in the episode description and on social media. Next time we meet, I will finally dish about challengers. You guys have a great week, and as always, go catch a movie.